haven't seen Blackmagic's NAB updates where they came out with a bunch of new cameras and a lot of other cool stuff, here is a quick rundown of some of my favorite things they announced. They released the Blackmagic Ursa Cine 12K, which is a large format cinema camera with 12K resolution, 16 bits of dynamic range, and a bunch of other cool stuff. And if that's not enough, they talked about a 17K version of that coming at the end of the year, which that is just mind-blowing. It feels like it was just a while ago we were talking about 8K, now we're at 17K, but of course this camera is way more than what I need for my current work or my videos, so put that aside. But they also came out with a camera that a lot of people have been asking for. This is more of a cube form factor cinema camera, and they call it Pixis 6K. This camera was made to be rigged out, has an all aluminum body, shoots 6K, 13 stops of dynamic range, Blackmagic internal RAW, and all the other cool stuff. And this one I'm super excited to see what people do with it, because when I saw the release I was thinking about getting it as a second camera, especially because it's only like 2,400 and something pounds, which if you know about the cinema cameras, this is super cheap. But I think I might hold out on it because I heard some rumors that a Sony FX3 Mark II might be coming out this year, and if it does come out, then I'm gonna have to get that one, so it matches perfectly with my other FX3. But yeah, all the cameras aside, they also finally came out with Davinci Resolve 19, and it comes with a bunch of cool new features and improvements. And it has never been easier to get a filmic look in your footage, especially now with this new feature that they just released on the color page called the Film Look Creator. And yeah, let's see what this is all about. So I got here this really cool shot that we took in my data last month, the sunset, and let's see what type of look we can get with this Film Look Creator, right? So if you check here, my node structure is pretty simple. I only have a color space transform in that takes my footage from S-Log3 to DaVinci Intermediate, and then a CST out that takes it back from DaVinci Intermediate to the output gamma, which is Rec 709 gamma 2.4. Now we're gonna add the Film Look Creator in between these and start our grade. So if you just go here to the effects and you start searching for film, and you see the Film Look Creator, just drag and drop, and you're gonna notice that automatically it changes your footage a lot because it already has the default 65mm look applied, right? And if you use this drop down here, you're gonna see that you got a bunch of other looks that are already here. So default 35, cinematic, it puts those at the bar. Bleach bypass, which you know there's a lot of ways to do bleach bypass in Davinci Resolve, but to literally have it here as a drop down menu, priceless. Nostalgic, which adds that output blanking, and so the bars, a lot of other characteristics of that old film, and then default no effects, and then custom, right? So we're gonna start actually with the default 35 because it gives like a nice look, and we're gonna go from here. When you add the Film Look Creator to your node, is automatically going to turn on all of these effects here. So if this is something that you don't want, you just go in and check all these. Most of these I will want, some of them I won't, but we'll talk about it later, right? So okay, you have here color blend, which essentially you can control the amount that this effect is affecting your color. So if I pull it all the way down, you're gonna see that the color settings over here get completely turned off if I go to 0, because it's just affecting less, but it's not affecting the effects. Basically the effects are already there, are still there. And then the same can be said with the effects blend, which you can lower or increase the amount that the effects from this feature is affecting your camera. So if you zoom in here, you can see all this grain, and if we lower the effects blend, you see that there's no grain, there's no halation anymore, there's no artificial blooming. So that's what it does, right? And then if you go to color space overrides, so instead of you needing to do color management here, you could literally just do it over here and put your color profiles in your camera and everything and just go from there. But I prefer to do it like this, because I feel like I have more flexibility. Now here in the color settings is where you're going to do most of your work. So let's change the exposure a little bit. Just put it up a tiny bit. I'll try not to clip the sky, but I'm still gonna put it up a little bit. And you can see that it changes the exposure in a very like organic way, which honestly you see that all of these are very organic because they do the changes in a very incremental way, and it's not just crazy and super harsh. So even when you put the exposure up, it's going to, you know, gradually increases in a very pleasant, a very nice way for your footage, right? And then I'm gonna do the same with the contrast, tiny little bit. Highlights, you can see if I pull all the way down, pay attention to the sky, is essentially gonna like recover those highlights. If I want to keep it all the way down, do this, but actually I want it to be a bit higher, so I'm gonna probably leave it there. I'm not even sure if I changed much. And then the fade, it just fades the darker areas of your image, which honestly I really do not like the faded look, so I'm gonna turn it completely off. White balance, again, you will notice when you change the white balance here, it changes in a very, very, very nice way. So essentially it adds warmth or coolness in a way that is just gonna change the colors that are already there, basically enhancing the warmth or the coolness of those colors in a very, very, very nice and subtle way. So for example, let's see, if I put the white balance all the way up over here, this is how you get like a nice warm color. Now let's reset this and do the same here, and you see how different it goes. You see, you can go all the way up, it gets crazy, it gets super yellow, it gets more saturated. So yeah, of course, you could be going for this look, but if you want something more subtle and something more organic looking, this white balance, the way that they do the white balance here is really nice. So I'm actually gonna put it up a little bit, a bit warmer like that. And then same goes for the tint. You can get a greener looking image, but still like in a very organic way, or a more magenta. So I'm gonna reset it and I'm gonna leave it a little more towards the magenta, just a tiny bit like that. And then here on the skin bias, let's see what this is doing, right? Let's take a look at the vector scope. So it seems like what this is doing is either, you know, adding or, you know, decreasing the saturation of what it considers to be a skin. So I'm guessing the reds and the oranges, and is also pulling it a little bit more towards the red. So I feel like is removing the saturation and is pulling a little bit more towards the red. So it was sitting over here back before. Let's see. Actually, I don't think I need to change much over here, not for now. And then we got subtractive saturation, which let's see what it does here with the waveform. If we change the subtractive saturation, you will see that it adds saturation, but it doesn't change the exposure, it doesn't change the luminance, which there is a way that you can do this, you know, manually, but just having a dial here is really, really good because you can add saturation without, you know, changing the luminance of your shot. So for example, if I go here and if I change the saturation over here, you can see on the waveforms over there that that it keeps going up because it adds saturation, but also adding a little bit of exposure and changing the luminance. And this, if you see, even if I go all the way up, it does not add like half of the amount that it was doing with the regular one in terms of the luminance, right? So let me reset and just add a little bit more here because I really like this. So let's go for something like that. So moving on, we have richness, which let's see what it does. So for the richness, I think what it's doing is it's essentially like boosting the saturation, but is pulling down a little bit on the exposure, which normally you would do it if you want to get color density on the skin and everything like that. But I think this one is a bit much. I don't think I need to use it, so I'm just gonna reset it. But let's see. Yeah, I don't want that. The next one, we got bleach bypass, which we talked about it because you have here bleach bypass. And again, there's other ways that you can get bleach bypass in Davinci Resolve, but this is literally a slider that you can use to get bleach bypass, so you get a less saturated, more contrasty look, which is very popular in cinema. So we might do like a tiny little bit. And all of this already gave us a lot of changes on our footage, and it looks really nice. If you want to just keep it like that, like a nice warm sunset film looking, this is where you go. Now the split tone here, it is really cool because you can add opposing colors to certain areas of your footage, and is going to essentially add the colors that you want in the shadows and in the highlights of your footage, so you get that color separation. So for example, if you want to do an orange and teal kind of look, you go over here and for example, let's just bump the amount, and you're gonna see that nothing changes much, it just looks like it's changing saturation, but that's because you have to move the hue angle. Right now it is telling you to just use most of the hue on the left side, which is orange, but if you start changing and we go for example to 180 degrees, it is going to give you the orange and teal, because essentially 180 is opposing colors on the color wheel. And yeah, and you literally with a few sliders you can get that orange and teal split tone effect, which again you can do it manually, but it takes a lot of time. And I kind of like it, even though it takes away a little bit of that sunset. I'm gonna keep it, but not that strong. I'm just gonna like dial it down a lot. So let's go all the way back and then pull it up. So maybe something like here just gives it a little bit more of a nostalgic feel, right? Something like this. So if you disable and enable, you can see the difference. And then the pivot essentially allows you to say, okay, can you give me more of the teal, or can you give me more of the orange? So if you go all this to the right side, it gives you more of the orange. If you go all the way here, it gives you more of the teal. But I like it how it was sitting there, so I'm just gonna leave it there. Now vignette, pretty self-explanatory, you already know what a vignette is. I'm gonna leave it a little bit. You just increase or decrease the amount, the sizing, or how much constricts your edges. I'll leave it there a little bit. Right, vignette, nice. Halation. Now I love halation. I always try to add halation, and the halation on this new effect, it's a lot better than the other halation. The halation that you have separately on the effects panel, you have a lot more control, but this one, it just feels like it's already adds a nice soft type of halation, where the other one, the halations are a little bit harsher, and you have to do a bunch of changes to get it how you want it. Well, let's first show you what it is. Halation is that little red glow around between very high contrast areas, so they had the highlights and the shadows, and I really like it, but I just like it to be a little subtle. So I'm going to put the amount a little bit down, maybe the radius a bit down, and the hue I'm gonna keep it more to this side, so this is very subtle. Actually, I'm gonna put the amount up a little bit. Let's see here. Yeah, so if you notice here in the cap, yeah, I like it. Let's leave it like that. After halation, you have blooming, which essentially is almost spreads the highlights of your footage throughout to give you this more soft, dreamy look. And I'm gonna exaggerate it so you can see what is affecting over here. So if I put the amount all the way up and the radius all the way up, you're gonna see over here, this is the without, this is with, without, and with again. So you see like it spreads the highlights through the whole image, and it makes it a bit softer. But because I already shot with like a mist filter, I don't want that turned on, so I'm just gonna turn it off. And then you have the grain, and you know that I love grain, so I always try to put grain. The default right now is the 35. I'm gonna zoom in so you can see a little bit better in YouTube. So you got 35, so you got 65, which is like a smaller and thinner grain. 35, a bit bigger, and it's sharp. 16, which is like quite bigger and less sharp. 8 mil, a lot bigger and less sharp still. And then you got customs, right? So I like the way the 35 is looking right here, but I don't like the saturation. I don't like to have saturation in the grain, so I'm gonna remove that, and I might increase the amount. So of course you can change here the amount, the size, and the softness. And then here image defocus, you can essentially add a little bit of like blur to the image just to emulate better the way film looks, because they're not super sharp. Let me go back to the 35 here and just remove the saturation and maybe a little bit more on the amount. And yeah, so this is without, this is with. Let me zoom in a little bit more so you can see. It's without and with, without and with again. And after this you have flicker, which it is that it flickers the image the way very old film used to do. So if I exaggerated a lot, you're gonna see this flickering here the image, and you can even see on the vector scope how it flickers, right? Let's zoom in a bit. You see all this flickering? I don't like that, I don't need it right now, so I'm gonna remove it. And the same for gate weave. Gate weave is this almost camera shake that it gives to your shot. So if I exaggerate it as well, you're gonna see all this micro jitter side to side, that's the gate weave. But again, I don't need it for now, so I'm gonna remove it. And then you have film gate. So film gate is just like a very easy way for you to increment those black bars on your footage. And you have all of these presets over here. You have the 35 silent, Academy, Vista Vision, Super 16, Super 8, 2.4x1, and then custom, right? And you can change some of the parameters over here. So for example, on this, the 2.4x1, I would not want the curvature. So you just remove the curvature and you just got those black bars that people normally add. And basically the pattern here is like how much of the side bars do you want to have, which for me would be none. A cool thing as well with the film gate here is if you go back to your edit page, you can on your inspector change the framing of the shot here, and it's not gonna like actually crop in your footage. Is actually just gonna add the black bars, and you can still reframe it. So if I wanted, I would put it somewhat like this, you know, and it would be better because then I can frame us better. But I don't even want the film gate on it, so I'm just going to remove it. I'm gonna go back to the edit page and remove it right now. And finally, in the global blend is just how much these all effects are affecting your footage. So if you don't want any of it to affect your footage, just pull all the way back. And if you want 100%, you pull all the way up to 1. You just feel like I want this look but just a little softer, maybe you put it at 50 or 75. I don't know, I'm just gonna leave it at 1. And this was the look that I was able to create here in just a few minutes. So let's see the before and after. This is the before, this is after. And this is awesome. I feel like it's going to open so many doors for people that have less experience to just get a really nice looking image on their shots and on their projects. And of course it helps that if you have a really nicely shot clip, and shout out to Vicente to getting this really nice candid moment of us. And let's take a look at a few other looks that I made with this one. So this is another one that I made a few minutes ago. And this is another one that looks a little bit more nostalgic with that, you know, green tint and that Super 8 film gate. And then also this one I actually done manually, keeping all of that, you know, color on the sky and all that blue. So yeah, let me know which one do you like the best. And here are some other footage where I use the film look creator. And yeah guys, this is super exciting. This is going to give people so many cool opportunities to create really cool looks very easily. This is something that you could do, for example, with Dehancer, but of course have to pay for it. And Dehancer is still very good, is awesome. And I'm going to do like a comparison video between this and Dehancer to see if now you should get Dehancer if you have Davinci Resolve, because kinda does the same thing. But I'm super excited to start using this, implementing on my workflow, and see the really cool looks that I can create with this. So which one of the features that they come out with are you most excited about? For me, it's definitely this one. I'm probably gonna make other videos about the other ones soon. But if you want to take a look at some footage that I color graded with the Dehancer Pro, just watch this video right here and let me know what you think. But for now, thank you very much for sticking around and watching this video. Love you all. Bye.